Hey guys, it's Sam, and today we're going to talk about my Bookish Wishes. This video is a paid collaboration with Sourcebooks for As You Wish by Chelsea Sadati. This follows our main character of Eldon, who lives in a small town in the Mojave Desert, and the thing about this town is that on your 18th birthday, everybody gets a wish, and that wish comes true no matter what. But the thing is, these wishes have consequences that you don't usually see when you're making the wish, and so he's seen people's lives wrecked over this, his family, his friends, and everything else. He just wants to leave the town, and he's trying to formulate his wish in the best way to have no consequences, but it's kind of one of those things like magic comes with a cost. So he has 26 days before he turns 18, and he has to figure out his wish, and then figure out how to live with the inevitable consequences of that wish. So today I'm going to talk about some of my bookish-related wishes, and also some of the possible ramifications of those wishes. So firstly, because As You Wish features characters that get wishes on their 18th birthday, I was thinking about what kind of wishes that I would have had that were bookish-related on my 18th birthday. And as I've mentioned before, through high school and a lot of college, one of the only series that I read on repeat was the Anita Blake series by Laurel K. Hamilton. So I'm thinking one of my wishes might have been something along the lines of this series never ending, or something like that, always having new Anita Blake books. What's ironic about that is this series is never ending. So I've actually since quit this series because it's now like maybe 23 books in with no possible ending, and as my reading has kind of evolved, I've seen that I still really like the beginning books in this series. But when a series doesn't end, and the characters are really never in danger, and there's no wrap-up, and the author doesn't know how to wrap it up, and the author doesn't know how to kill their darlings, it makes it unenjoyable. Because there's no threat, there's no reason to really keep reading these things, I'm not nervous for them, I don't need to know because they're just going to be fine, and there's definitely a lack of an outline to the story. It's kind of gone off its own way. It's also mostly erotica at this point, where before it had like a very solid story. So a lot's happened. So my wish that I would have made would have definitely backfired, because that's exactly what happened with this. Next we have one that I think is pretty safe, and that is that even with cover changes, I wish for the spines to continue to match. So I specifically didn't wish for no more cover changes because I think sometimes cover changes are beneficial. Yes, they can be very annoying for a lot of people, but obviously they do add to diversity sometimes with some of the more recent cover changes that have happened to include people of color on covers. But also some cover changes are really good because the covers before were super ugly. So I don't want to wish away all cover changes because that would just be bad, but I think you could solve a lot of people's issues with cover changes if you still kept the spines matching, because that's really all we see on our shelves anyway. Lots of people do have the covers like turned out sometimes on some of their favorite books, but in general, if the spines match, it doesn't really matter what the covers look like because you still have the organization of the spines matching. Solves everything. My second wish is for fan artists to not use an already established fan-casted actor, actress, model as a new character. You guys might be confused what I mean by this, but I have a specific example in mind for this. So I'm very active on Tumblr, as I mentioned a lot, and after I read the Grisha trilogy, I saw Sean O'Pry as the Darkling because he was in all of the edits. Everywhere. He was established as, like, everyone used him for the Darkling. Like, I barely ever saw another Darkling. That's who they used. And it was great. That's who I pictured. It was awesome. Then, a few months later, or like a year later, I forget, but a while later, ACOTAR and ACOMAF came out, and all of a sudden, I'm seeing Sean O'Pry, but he's not as the Darkling, he's as Reese, and I'm like, this doesn't work in my head, because I already have him as this, and now you guys are trying to make him this, and he's already, you all know, because both of these are popular series, these fan artists know that Sean O'Pry was already the Darkling. So why are you trying to make him be Reese now? It's too much. It's too much. I know actors in general can play multiple characters, and that happens in, like, actual life, but I would just prefer for the fan artists to find new models. There's plenty of tall, dark, handsome models and actors out there. It's not like you're at a loss for it. It's not like there's a lack of them, so find new ones when you have a really big series especially. Like, maybe if it's for a small series, whatever, it's not going to be seen as much, whatever. Two juggernaut series that are fan casting the same person for a main character, it gets confusing. I don't like it. I don't like it. My next wish is for more TV adaptations instead of movie adaptations. Specifically, some of my series that I would like to see adapted into TV shows are like the Grishaverse. I think that would make a fantastic TV show. I also think Mistborn would make a fantastic TV show. The Infernal Devices would make a good TV show. I'm not sure what they're gonna do with that with Shadowhunters or whatever, but I would like a spin-off of just the Infernal Devices that I'd watch. But I know it's kind of a double-edged sword because adaptations in general, they have consequences. They're not always true to form. I feel like it's easier for them to remain more true to the story if you have a TV show, but I know it doesn't always happen. So wishing for adaptations in general has its consequences, and it doesn't always work out in your favor. Then you end up hating it and regretting it, and it's bad. But I feel like you have better odds with the TV shows. Another adaptation wish is that I would like the announcements about adaptations or books getting picked up to be adapted wouldn't happen until later on in the development process. I am very sick of books just being optioned and then being talked about. Like, wait for this to come out. Okay, like all the books on this shelf basically have been optioned. So I don't want to hear about it until we actually have plans, a script, their casting, whatever. I don't want to know. I mean, the Shatter Me series has been announced as being adapted. Where is any of the stuff about it? I know Shadowhunters was like quick, so that was cool because they got the announcement and then everything was happening really quickly. Shatter Me was announced like, what, 2 years ago? And like no one's mentioning like the casting, script, like what's going on. The Raven Boys I think was announced if I'm not mistaken, and it's just like, it's nowhere. I don't want to know about the adaptations until they're closer, because then I just get my hopes up and they either don't end up happening or they get stuck in like the back room kind of negotiations for a really long time. It breaks my heart. I don't want to get my hopes up for it until it's actually actively happening. My next wish is something that I've talked about before, but that is shorter audiobook waitlist times. So I use Libby, which not sponsored or anything like that, but I use Libby because it's a library app. A lot of people use it, and there's really long wait times, especially at my library for like every single audiobook. So I have to kind of coordinate when I ask for things and put things on hold so two things don't come in at the same time, because then I can't read them both quickly and you only get them for 2 weeks and it's just a lot. So I either want to be able to have them for longer, which wouldn't help the audiobook wait time, so that doesn't really help. And then I want shorter wait times, and I don't want to have to use Audible because Audible is really expensive in the grand scheme of things. There needs to be a solution for better audiobook, like instant almost. I know there's rules around that, that's why they can't do it. But I almost want instantaneous audiobook downloads, unlimited things that wouldn't be possible and would have consequences. But it's what I would like. It would make my life so much easier. I also just want a general better selection at my library, which I mentioned before, and a lot of you were like, my library has great selection. Good for you. Mine doesn't really. And lastly, as far as book construction, I wish that every paperback would be a floppy paperback. Floppy paperbacks are so rare, but like, here's an example of a nice floppy paperback. It falls open and you don't have to worry about like breaking the spine or anything. It's super nice. It just makes for a more comfortable reading experience. That way I don't have to read my book like this because I'm worried about cracking the spine. I can just read it with ease, with it flopping open in my hands like a gift. And I honestly can't think of any consequence for that. I only see happiness if that were to happen. So that is it for some of my bookish wishes. Comment down below, let me know if you have any bookish wishes that you would like to come true. And try to also think if there's anything that could go wrong because of that wish. So thank you all for watching, and I'll see all of you guys soon. Bye!